Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Thinker from the round of rapid fire comic book reviews. And yeah, we're back. We were on vacation for a bit, went down to Orlando, and actually, I probably should have warned what I got next time. And yeah, so now we're back with a rapid fire review, and we're gonna get right into it with Nightwing issue 93 by Tom Taylor. And last time we said finally, it's picking up some speed, and here it's picking up just a little bit more, but at the same time, not really. Alright. So, this story opens up, well, picking up where it left off, Heartless meets up with Blockbuster. Now, something that I noticed is that if you didn't read Nightwing before, you have no idea who Blockbuster is. Like, you know Nightwing, you know Batgirl, or Barbara Gordon in this case, you know Tim Drake when he shows up, you know at least every other character that shows up. From other books. Like, you might not know Mr. Terrific, but that's easy enough to figure out. You know The Flash, you know Starfire, you know Donna Troy. Maybe not where Donna Troy is continuity-wise, but you know Donna Troy. But Blockbuster is primarily a Nightwing antagonist, and this story doesn't really endear you to how threatening he could be because, again, every time he does something, it's easily stopped. So Heartless comes in, remember the antagonist, the supposed antagonist, from the beginning of this run, is showing up before Blockbuster's like, yeah, dude, how you doing? I'm here to take over, alright? Here to take over. And Blockbuster's like, yeah, right, so you're Heartless. Alright, well, when I'm through with you, you're going to be fingerless, spineless, legless, whole bunch of less. Alright? And Heartless like, well, you know what? Okay, you know, I could take your heart, but no one will care. No one will care because you're kind of terrible. And you just talk about how, you know, like, this is all part of my plan. I'm going to win this because I'm great. Totally ignores the fact that Blockbuster just lifted up his desk and just ruined him. I'm like, why has this been happening before? If this is supposed to be like a turf war between Heartless and Blockbuster, tell that story. But no. Also, even weirder. Nightwing has no idea what's going on. What's going on here? Well, someone's writing graffiti on Alfred's statue, which is, of course, not something Alfred would really like, a statue, let alone graffiti on that statue. But anyway, he gets an alert from Babs, or Oracle in this case, you know, whatever, that, yeah, the police are here, and they're going to try to arrest Nightwing. It's interesting because Dick Grayson was a cop in Bloodhaven for a bit, so you'd have to wonder if he knows any of these people. So he escapes, gives them the slip, and he then talks he meets Babs again, and she says, hey, you know, I was able to get the footage of those guys that tried to destroy Haven a couple nights ago, and Dick gets all caught up in his feelings and go, I love you, and they're like, what? And the reason this is a big deal is because the elephant in the room when it comes to those two is that in the pages of Death Metal, Nightwing and Batgirl got married, alright? Nightwing was trying to put himself out there. Batgirl's like, no, I can't deal with this right now. Like, tomorrow we're going to fight for everything. I can't be worried about you. Batman's like, look, skip to the part where you're all happy. There you go. The power invested in me by nobody. You're married. I think Batman's probably an ordained minister. Like, he probably is. Like, prep time Batman, yeah, I'm always set to perform a ceremony. Like, you know what, you two are married for whatever. Then they go like, you know what, if we survive this, if we come through this, we're getting divorced. That's it. Like, in reality, we aren't married. And so, like, for this night, we're married. And this story actually opened up. I think it was the first or second issue of this run where the police asked them, like, what's the nature of your relationship? And Dick Grayson's like, actually, I'm kind of wondering that, too. Like, they don't know. So this feels a bit late. And they try to talk about it. But the most useless character in this entire story, Dick Grayson's sister, says, hey, you might want to get down to Haven now for no reason. Like, she has done nothing. She could have easily just been, like I said before, she could have easily been one of Dick Grayson's exes, and nothing would have changed. Anyway, so turns out the police are arresting teenagers. Remember, Haven is for the homeless kids. And like, well, you know, these kids, they're going to be committing vandalism and whatnot. They're causing all kinds of problems. And Dick Grayson's like, pretty sure they weren't. Let alone do they have the power to black out cameras, which you say, like, there's no video evidence. But you know what? I think I've got some evidence. As the news shows up, they leaked the pictures of everyone that was involved. And, yeah. That was kind of gold. Meanwhile, this whole slice of life pointless stuff is then interrupted by Blockbust by Heartless getting to his, I guess, his medical guy and gives him another heart. And yeah, there's a lot of hearts. Now remember, Heartless has been stealing hearts from the homeless and whatnot. And this guy, he's got like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 in each row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 72. 72 times 3. I can't math. 6. Like almost 150 hearts. Almost 150 hearts. Actually, no. That is wrong. Over 200 hearts. I'm sorry. Over 200 hearts. And this have all been stolen while he's been in Bloodhaven. So while Dick Grayson is trying to make sure, like, oh, these homeless kids have somewhere to sleep, he's literally creating a breeding, pretty much a hunting ground for Heartless, who he's not investigating. Like, oh, someone's stealing the hearts from homeless kids. I better not investigate that. Because I'm Dick Grayson and I'm a great guy. Hate it. Hate it. You know, like at some point, he's going to meet Heartless, and we're going to see this actual story. I don't know what's going on here. Like, when does this eventual meetup have to be? Because ultimately, Dick Grayson is going to feel like he's going to feel so bad when he realizes, oh, this whole time I've been trying to help the homeless kids. I've been ignoring the fact these homeless kids are being killed. Like, he's going to feel so bad. Also, is no one investigating him? Is Barbara not? Is Tim not? I just don't. I just don't. Overall, though, on the surface, this is a story finally moving somewhere. Blockbuster's doing something that's going to help him win something. Heartless has been pushed a step back, but he's still collecting the hearts of the... And Dick and Babs are, once again, trying to figure out where they are as a couple. Ultimately, it still kind of feels like nothing. Nothing again. Anyway... So Dark Crisis Young Justice, a 6-issue event, or I think it's supposed to be 3, I'm not sure. I was excited about this, primarily because Bendis' Young Justice left a dull taste in my mouth. I'm not even going to say it was bad, it was just not that great. And this takes, of course, after the events of Dark Crisis, when the Justice League has been murdered, or just killed, fighting every bad guy ever. And the memorial is kind of sad, but this story is primarily told from Cassie's perspective about how lost and alone everyone feels, and how it's also and how she brings focus back to pretty much her 3 best friends. All right, Tim, Bart, and Connor, the forgotten sidekicks, because they ultimately are. Like, Connor was for the longest time, like, he was like the closest thing Superman had to a son. Then New 52 happened, and he was like rebranded as like this weird experiment, another experiment, and then he was like killed or died off in New 52. And Tim has been on a weird spiral since New 52. Well, actually, since before New 52, when Damian Wayne basically took the mantle of Robin, courtesy of Dick Grayson, saying, like, you know what, I don't need you as a Robin, Tim. You can be your own thing, but I need to keep an eye on Damian. So the Robin mantle was effectively taken from him. And Bart just sort of doesn't, like, no one knows what's going on with Bart, because, yeah, no one knows what to do with Bart. So Cassie sort of reflects on what's happened with him. The fact that at one point Bart aged up trying to stop Superman, trying to stop, Evil Superboy in the events of Infinite Crisis. Also, Connor Kent was killed by Superboy Prime in Infinite Crisis. And oddly enough, Cassie seems to think that that Connor doesn't know about this. Like, she told Connor, like, that you know, after Connor died, the two of them hooked up for a bit. Didn't last, but whatever, okay? So, the Young Justice guys meet up, and you sort of see the problem with Young Justice, the fact that it's sort of that forgotten team. You know, you didn't really need Young Justice so much. Like, you have the Teen Titans. Also, most of the Young Justice group were on the Teen Titans. Cassie, Tim, Bart, and Connor were all the Teen Titans at one point. And you see that the team is sort of like, you know, broken up. Like, they haven't really hooked up again. This is sort of like a bunch of people in high school that were in the same class. You know, they had a decent rapport with each other, but they didn't keep in touch afterwards. These people didn't. Sissy's doing college stuff. Like, you know, she's doing papers and whatnot. She's like, yeah, I don't really call or text back, so I'm sorry. But Cassie sort of notes that, you know, this isn't a team anymore. Like, no one knows how to talk to each other. Like, the last time they were all here was when Connor came back from the dead. Because comics. And everything's, like, just getting more and more awkward. But then as if to put the icing on the cake, Connor, Bart, and Tim just disappear. And this is where it gets weird. So, Tim wakes up, sleep on the floor, as you know, Alfred's not that surprised at. That, hey, you've been called. Connor wakes up on the floor of his apartment, and Bart wakes up still doing his training with the Flashes. And, you know, it's just with, like, hey, what's going on? What are we going to do? What are we doing? And then they go back to Happy Harbor, where the Young Justice headquarters used to be, and they realize there's nothing past the events of what looks to be the death of Superman. Like, okay, this is where we all last were. So they're thinking, look, is this where we've always been? Did we just come out of a dream? Or was that the fake continuity? Are we in a real one now? Does that mean all of our superheroes aren't dead? Does that mean Tim's like, does that mean there is no Damian Wayne? I'm in. And Bart's like, does that mean I have been replaced by Wallace West? Jury's still out. Connor, does that mean there's no Superboy? No, I'm sorry, Superman and John Kent? It just sort of sucks. And it sort of gets worse. So Cassie, meanwhile, is trying to figure out, hey, where'd our friends go? Sissy doesn't care. Like, you know, I've got other stuff to do. I'm sure they're off somewhere. And they'll be fine. I got college stuff to do. So he's like, well, fine. I'll go to their mentors. Like, you know, to their respective superhero families. But before that, oh, good lord. John, Connor, and Tim are fighting a superheroes known as the Endowed. I'm like, okay. Alright, if there's a way I gotta go, let it be by the Endowed. Because I was like, what is this? I kind of love it. Meanwhile, Cass goes to the Flash like, hey guys, so Bart just disappeared. Don't know where he is. I thought he might have come here. And they're like, well, you know, we're kind of busy doing other stuff. So, you know, if you, I'm sure they'll be fine, especially if he's with Tim and Connor, which hasn't been demonstrated. All they know is all three of them disappeared. And yeah, they're like, well, if you see them, tell them we could use some help. I'm like, wait, you aren't helping? Like, you can spare one of you to help. Cassie goes to Nightwing and Bloodhaven. Well, yeah, gee, I don't know. I don't really have time to look for Tim. Tim will be fine, you know, but if you see him, tell him I could really use his help. And John, has John even met Connor? That was my question. You're like, wait, have they met? Has Connor met his replacement? The son Superman actually wants? You know? Has he? He's like, well, you know, gee, I haven't seen him. My hands are tied here. But if you see Connor, tell him I'd like to talk to him. I'd like some help. Like, he just made everyone look like a dick. And Nightwing. Like, no one wants to. Everyone's busy. And you sort of realize no one cares about these three. Because, again, they've been replaced. Effectively, they've been replaced. And so, meanwhile, while Cassie's being sad and worrying about her three favorite chuckleheads, the team's getting beaten up by the Endowed. And I'm like, yep. If not for the crush injuries they'd be sustaining, this would be great. So Cass is like, you know what? She's really torn up. And it's kind of sad. Like, I don't know a lot about Cassie Sandsmark. I read the Jeff Johns run she had in Teen Titans. And that was fun. She always seems like a really fun character. But yeah. She's like, you know, I'm going to find them. And luckily, apparently in this, wherever Tim, Connor, and Bart are, they've been saved by this Cassie Sandsmark. So I'm like, okay, A Tale of Two Cassies is the next story. I'm like, okay, this was alright. This was decent. It really is sort of on the nose about the fact that, hey, as I said, no one cares about Young Justice. No one really cares about Tim Drake, despite any attempts to make him better. Like, out of the three of them, actually out of the four of them, Tim, Bart, Connor, and Cassie, Tim is the only one that really seems to have any real staying power. And that's because, well, he's a Robin. Alright, he was a Robin, and DC's always had like a decent plan for the Robins. Either they die, become Nightwing, or they'll die and come back as Robin, and then Damian will be more upset about some stuff involving the death of Alfred and Tom King, and he'll stop being Robin. But yeah, I mean, there's always a place for the Robins to go, but there's always a place for the Flash sidekicks to go. They've all pretty much gone to the same places. Tim, aka the Batman sidekick, Bart, the Flash sidekick, Cassie, the Wonder Woman sidekick, and Connor, the Superman sidekick, not really, had all been on the Teen Titans. Then they moved into Young Justice. I think the problem is that was kind of it. There was no real plan afterwards. Even when DC did New 52 and had them be pretty much the only Teen Titans, those books didn't last. Like, they don't really quite belong anywhere. So it's weird that these four aren't the key. Honestly, in the Dark Crisis continuity, if Nightwing, Donna Troy, and Wally don't step up, it would be these guys. But no, and honestly, that should be how Dark Crisis ends, with these guys finally stepping into the role that it was sort of always destined to be in. Oh, that's just me. And finally, we have the choice meat of the day. Batman Beyond the White Knight by the GOAT himself, Sean Gordon Murphy. And yes. So, this story opens up with a bunch of Azrael followers who are really not proud. They just hate Bruce Wayne, like he didn't help anything, because it was revealed in Curse of the White Knight that Bruce Wayne was actually not a Wayne. He was a Laufey? He was an Arkham. It was weird. He's from the Arkham family, and the Laufeys killed the actual Waynes and took over. Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley, actually is a Wayne, something along those lines. And they're like, well, those were the ones that really helped make Gotham City all the good it was. And Harley's daughter, Jace, I believe that is her name, says, like, you know what? Nah, it's Joker. Joker's the one that made Gotham City what it is. And it's weird. It leads to a fight. Luckily, Dick Grayson, still ever the bootlicking thug he is able to save. I believe her name is Jace. I'm gonna forget. But he only saved her to have her meet up with Derek Powers. And Derek Powers said, like, yeah, sure. I never quite understood the appeal of Joker, but I understood the Joker. I was the one that built the tech that Batman used to take down him. And she posed the question, like, do you see Joker as your real dad or Jack Napier? And she rightly points out, I never knew either of them. So she doesn't quite know. Like, Harleen can say, yeah, Jack's your father, but she never knew Jack. If anything, Bruce seems to be more their dad than Jack was. Because, again, they know Bruce, but she also seems to be mad at Bruce. And Derek's like, if you really want to understand which one's your dad, you should really help me with the work. I can help you understand Joker and Jack. But she's not stupid. Like, the real reason you want me is because I was able to evade your detection software. I was able to hack into your systems and make it so they couldn't find me. And he's like, yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, alright. Meanwhile, Terry McGinnis shows up still as Batman Beyond. It's like, well, what is going on here? Why would Bruce Wayne want to kill my father? And I felt like that was a question Terry should have asked, like, the first time Derek said Bruce Wayne killed his dad. Like, why? I don't know what's going on. He's confused, and then, like, Robin showed up, and Derek's like, what do you mean Robin showed up? There's no Robin anymore. I don't know. Well, some dude wearing a Robin costume showed up. And he's like, fine, Terry, it's time I showed you exactly what your dad was helping me to build. What our real work was. But once I show you, there's no going back. Meanwhile, at what appears to be Neo Gotham Hospital, Bruce wakes up and is like, he sees Duke Thomas as Robin, like, dude, you gotta take that costume off. Like, there doesn't need to be any more Batman or Robin, not in this city, not anymore. This all was supposed to end with me. And is that in line with Bruce? Kinda, sorta. So in Battle for the Cowl, I know we're going off a tangent here, one of Bruce's instructions were after his death was that no one replaced Batman. Like, Gotham City didn't need Batman. That would be fine with just Nightwing and Robin and just about every other superhero, mass superhero that was in Gotham City. So Bruce was right that it should be fine, but whenever Bruce is wrong, he's horribly, horribly wrong. And yeah, that story got so bad that there needed to be a new Batman, which ended up being Dick Grayson. But anyway, he talks to Babs about what's going on here, and they sort of realize, like, whatever Terry McGinnis. Terry McGinnis's dad seems to be the key to this. Whoever, what was his name? What was it? Terry's dad is the key to this. We got to figure out what's going on here. Barbara points out this is all bigger than Bruce, and the point is, like, have you talked to Dick Grayson? And like, well, I fought him. It counts as talking, right? Like, we threw hands. But then we get to something a bit weirder, and I think it's very messed up. So Babs and Dick have a child. They have a child, and he's 5. All right, and apparently they haven't, like, Babs has been too busy working with the GC as the commissioner of the GCPD, which means Dick Grayson probably hasn't seen his child. And I'm thinking, so this issue is so bad that you've been neglecting your child, and even, like, Barbara seems to be the only one that actually is upset about this, because, like, she felt like she should have known better. Being, the daughter of a police officer, she would know how dangerous and how the job can make you spend less time with your kids. And it is something that really seems to be bothering her, that she wishes that, if anything, they could be the parents their child needs. And I haven't given a name yet. Name is Bruce. Even money. Named him Bruce. Or Jim. Like, whatever. There's no crazy Jim Gordon Jr. here, so yeah, we can do that. So, anyway. They're like, so here's the plan. You go talk to Dick Grayson, and we'll do some other stuff. But luckily, as is customary, as soon as Babs turns around, both Batman and Robin are gone. Like, yeah, you're on your own. Meanwhile, Terry is finally seeing exactly what Derek Powers is working on, or rather, what Bruce and Derek were working on, as well as with Terry's dad. And it's apparently this armada, so all the Bat tech is apparently going to be sold off to other nations to stop this whatever invasion is coming. I'm like, okay. I'm hoping it's an actual invasion and we're not, like, making this whole thing about immigrants. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Sean Gordon Murphy is never that on the nose. He's more about exposing corruption, so who knows? Who knows what this is? Maybe Derek Powers actually is crazy, so it doesn't matter. So anyway, Robin's going around, or Duke is talking about, hey, it's kind of hilarious because, back in my training days, in the old days, they used to call me Robin. I'm like, all right, cute. All right, so anyway, we need stuff on McGinnis. And the only way to access that and find out about his murder is to talk to the GTFO. And they're like, well, we could just talk to Dick Grayson. Like, no, we're not doing that. What we're going to do is you're going to hack Flint's computer. Flint being Dick Grayson's second in command. It'll be fine. Because, Bruce is the only one that's not good at talking to people. Meanwhile, Bruce is getting into the Batcave, and he has another panic attack. And they can't quite figure out what's going on. Jack says, like, look, you need to figure out what's going on here, what's triggering your panic attacks. It can't just be me here, all right? And Jack's also still upset that, Bruce keeps calling him Joker. Like, I'm not Joker. Yeah, but the whole time you threw like, when I first saw you in my head, you threw a Joker card. So, yeah, I'm calling you Joker. And then we see the flying Batmobile. And Jack, being the family, like, oh, you have a Batmobile that can fly? Oh, man, it's so cool. And it turns out this got scrapped because it was a power supply issue. Luckily, the power gizmo that he nipped off of Dick Grayson should fix that problem. But then they see a dog, and Josh's like, "Oh my God, a puppy!" And they've adopted a puppy, and it's just sort of cute and hilarious. Meanwhile, Duke comes across Dick Grayson as GTFO, Gestapo bootlicking Dick Grayson, and Dick goes like, look, tell me where Bruce is and I won't arrest you. And Duke's like, you know what? No, man. No. I don't know what's happened to you. I don't know what you've become, but you've sold out to Derek Powers, who's using Batman. And Dick Grayson's like, Derek Powers is not working with Batman. I'm like, you're going to feel so bad when you find out the truth of what's going on here. And, so they have, like, a little altercation, and Duke is able to knock Dick down. Like, dude, what happened to the Nightwing, to the Dick Grayson we all looked up to and admired? Because you're a sellout. You're a sellout. Meanwhile, Jack and Bruce have more back and forth fun banter. There's not much to this. Jax is like, I've always wanted to be in the Batcave, see what's going on here. And Bruce goes, well, I don't think it was a good idea to have the Joker, my arch nemesis, know exactly where my base of operations is. Just saying. And then we cut to Terry going to visit his dad's grave, and he's met by his mom, and they sort of have a conversation about exactly what the last time Terry and his dad talked. And one of the things his dad said was that he was basically a disgrace, that, you know, he wasn't living his potential, and he was like, Terry's dad was so focused on his work that he didn't really have time for things. He wasn't really like a dad, and that's what led Terry to sort of falling off this sort of unbeaten path. And then during a whole sort of like a gang fight, his dad comes and gets him, and he says, like, look, I'm sorry about what I said. It wasn't true. I've spent too much time away from the family. I've made a horrible mistake. And then he says this: Derek Powers cannot be trusted, and he must be stopped. And I'm thinking, wait, so this whole time Terry has been letting Derek play him to figure out exactly what's going on. So which means he more likely never believed that Bruce Wayne had his dad killed. He knew that Derek Powers was connected to it. So he tried to find a way to bring Derek Powers in to figure out what's going on. And I guess he's figured it out. Like, all the pieces are coming together. Why his dad died, what his dad knew about Derek Powers, now what Derek Powers is doing, it's all coming together. And I'm thinking, cool. And meanwhile, Jason, remember, who in this continuity is the first Robin, sees the flying Batmobile, is like, Bruce, what are you doing? And he gets on his motorbike and like, I gotta stop my dad. All right, and that's how the comic ends. So Beyond the White Knight, outside the fact that I'm not loving this cover, it's all right. I just don't love it. I liked it. I like that we've moved Bruce a bit further back into the background for this, because this issue is primarily about Terry. It's about the Bat family as they've moved on. Duke talks about his role, and sort of coming into the role of Robin. We see how far Dick Grayson has fallen. Maybe Dick Grayson had a point somewhere that we didn't need vigilantes, but when Barbara points out, hey, you still haven't fixed the problems, what else is there? What else is there? The fact that Dick Grayson seems to really want to latch on to someone to make decisions for him. And is that sort of in line with Dick Grayson's character? I think as a negative, like if you turned him around there, like Dick Grayson sort of laissez-faire, sort of like, you know, what will be laid back sort of perspective, sort of coming into contrast with his desire for change. He wants someone else to say, this is the direction we'll go, this will make it so this doesn't happen, and he won't question it. Or something along those lines. Especially with this Dick Grayson, who was sort of stuck in the same position that Jason was in the main continuity, where Jason was often compared to Dick. Dick mentions that every now and then Bruce would call him Jason. So I think that might have bothered him more than before. But overall, this is an interesting story. Where are Bruce's panic attacks coming from? I think Jack is right that Bruce does have a thing for Harleen. The question is, how does Harleen really feel about Bruce? I think at the end of this, you'll probably get a confession from both of them. But I think the story will end with Bruce dying. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. Overall, though, this was alright. I'm going to give Nightwing one more issue. I think I said that 2 issues ago. But since it's finally starting to pick up, like, look, if next issue Dick Grayson doesn't realize that a bunch of homeless kids have had their hearts taken out, I'm just done. This is like the worst thing ever. It's one thing when Bruce keeps finding out about more secret societies in Gotham City, but Dick Grayson's like, I'm here to help the homeless kids. What do you mean someone's been taking the hearts out of homeless kids? But Haven, Alfred's like, boy, I left you billions of dollars. Why haven't you fixed this guy going around murdering homeless kids? You're terrible. You're terrible. I'm sorry. Give me my money back. Alfred comes back just to take the money. So anyway, with that in mind, this brings the video close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, for like, comment, share, and subscribe. Smash the thumbs up button. I will catch you all later. We have some other stuff that we're going to work on. We are working on our War Doctor retrospective. We are doing another DuckTales lore video. It's probably going to be Donald Duck. Probably. That's going to take some time. There is a letter, or sort of a retrospective I want to do on the Whitaker era. Not so much that doctor, but just the Whitaker Chibnall era. And there is something special we wanted to work on for a while. So yeah, we have a lot of fun little smaller projects to come on. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.